Hi guys, today we'll be talking about Bharat Wires and Rope. We'll be analyzing this company. So of course we will start with the business model and then we see how the result has been and how it will, what is the outlook or the guidance that has been given by the management, right? So first thing first, before we deep dive into the business model, before we try and understand and see the numbers, you can see that the entire, the infra space or the manufacturing space, you're seeing a boom like never before, right? And all of these spaces are deep cyclical spaces, and they have been in a deep downturn all this while, and now you're seeing the revival also, like unlike ever before. The reason for that is, if you see, there has been a lot of projects, or a lot of government funding that has come, whether it is, whether the road car development that happens, or the airport, and ships and everything, that the infrastructure play that is happening, and the amount of funding that the government is doing. As a result, these companies are also getting benefited. Like for example, when you talk, we are, government has given, they have a vision of adding 400 Vande Bharat trains, or they want to make world class airports. You're seeing, even airports coming up in T2 and T3 cities. Now the thing is, like, we might not be able to invest in an airport, we might not be able to invest, in certain companies, either they are government entities or they're not listed. But what we can do is, because of all these fundings, there will always be a certain group of companies or industries that are going to get immensely benefited, right? So you can play around, because with these companies. So one such companies, is Bharat Wire and Rope. And of course, if you see the any wire and rope ka segment that is there, whether it is Usha Martin, whether it is DP Wise, you will see the entire space is doing really well, right? So we will just go see, what again Bharat Wire does. And I'll just share my presentation. One second. Yeah, yeah. So we will be doing Bharat Wires. So first thing first, let us understand what they do, right? Simple's a fund, Simple's a business model. They do this wires and rope that are used in heavy engineering industry or petrochemical industry or in the infra space. I think you would have seen this wires and ropes, right? Like whether that connects the towers, or jo bridge mein lagta hai, right? Or whether during mining constructions. I think in this deep sea where the mining happens, where they get the petroleums and chemicals, all of these things, offshore cranes, this is where they use all this wires and rope, as simple as that. So that is what they do. So Bharat Wire is a leading manufacturer of this steel wire and steel ka ropes jo hota hai, all of these things. And of course they have two manufacturing plants, right? One they have in Attagaon and the other one in Chalisgaon, like both are in Maharashtra. The second thing is, you see the kind of products that they have wire rope, strands, slings, steel wire. Again, it ranges of different sizes, and of course everything has its own application also, right? So that is one thing. And if you see their product, if you see their revenue also, like 85% is coming from domestic, and the other 15% is coming from export, right? So that is there. Other than that also, if you see, they're not a company that is catering, how do I tell you, not just catering to the government, but also to it is a combination of everything: government, non-governmental organizations, or private organizations, as you call it, all of these. So this is what they do. Very simple. They do these steel wires and ropes, right? And the end application of all these wires and rope are in the, are in the other industries, such as aviation industry, as you would, or oil exploration, all of these, right? So now, what is this? Why is this industry like? What is the? I wouldn't call it a moat, but why is it so difficult to enter this industry? The first thing is, all of these are an end product, right? Because let's say, for example, to construct a bridge, you need this steel wires and rope. And now you understand that all of these projects are heavy, like not heavy. I'm sorry. All of these projects are high price project, right? They invest so much, and of course, once they invest, they want that they want that structure to sustain for a very long period of time. Like for example, if you see a bridge, nobody's constructing a bridge with a, with a vision like, oh, let it be there for 1 year, right? It needs to sustain that load, that continuous load, and for a long period of time. So as a result, because they are such an integral part of any kind of how do I tell, any kind of structure, it becomes very important, that it is safe, right? Like for example, these wires and ropes, these ropes that are there, it is used in your elevator also. You would have seen, right, when the elevator goes down and comes up, you will see a rope. right? Now think about this, right? The elevator ropes needs to be safe at the end of the day. You can't use like a, like a random rope, and let's say it breaks. You have high chances of accident, and people can end up can end up losing life. As a result, what is important here is, that whatever products that they do, it needs to be safe. It needs to go through many standards and checks, right? Many standards and checks. Because of this whole process, it becomes very hard, for a random person to come and start an industry, right? It is not like a biscuit company, just have a product and come. The second thing is the close customer engagement. The When you talk about, getting a new project, or when you talk about a project that already exists, the life cycle of the project that is there, it ranges somewhere between 3 to 9 months. That is a minimum, like for an existing project. Or let's say if you want to acquire a new client, there are times, where it can go up to 3 to 5 years also, just to acquire a client. So as a result, because of this high period, high cycle, high life cycle of a project and the acquisition of client, it becomes very hard for a new person to enter, or a new company to enter. The third thing is high customer switching cost. Now, what do I mean by high customer switching cost? Let's say I'm a company, right? I'm an elevator company. I'm already in contact with, let's say, Bharat Wire. Just an example, right? So if I have to switch my customer, right? Let's say if I have to go from Bharat Wire to any other company, like let's say again DP Wires, for example, the whole ecosystem to change manual, to change, get the, to go, talk to these people, get the entire, like I told you, the entire life cycle to source a new project can also go up to 3 to 5 years, or around 10 months. The entire process is so time consuming that, it doesn't make sense for a company. Like, they rather continue unless and until the product is good, their relationship with these people are good. It makes sense for them to continue rather than, just switch to a new company, switch to a new product from another company, just to like save hardly like 5 to 6%, or those kind of things. The last thing is, technical, like I told you right at the first point, like I mentioned, because these are the critical components. They're using it in, high end, high end infra. You're right, where I told you also, like, because here it comes, it's a matter of safety, it's a matter of life and death, right? As a result, because of this, what happens is, where you can't just start a product. It has to go through multiple tests, multiple, research and everything, right? So because of this, to form a niche here, right, it takes you around, 10 to 12 years. As a result, because of all of these points, the industry itself is, high barrier. The high barrier means, the new entrant to for a new entrant to come here, it becomes very tough, right? So first thing is that's about Bharat Wires. Another thing I would like to highlight is, you would have seen, right, this company was in a downturn, like a lot of downturn, not just Bharat Wire, but many other companies, Usha Martin and DP Wise, all of these companies were in a downturn. The reason for that is, one, of course, these people had done, like for example, Bharat Wire, only if I have to take an example, they had invested heavily into capex, right? Let's say heavily into capex in the year 2019, and at that time the capex, the cycle was at peak and it went to a downturn, right? And on top of that, we had COVID also. So all the capex that you did, it was not fruitful, because you have a plant but you don't have order, there is no demand, everything had gone into a downturn. Now because of this, and you understand this, right, because these people these kind of industries are also like a sandwich model. What do you mean by sandwich model, right? Like, these are similar to like an auto ancillary industry, but their condition is even worse than an auto ancillary industry. Because see, you're making a product out of steel, right? Steel wire and ropes you're doing. So your raw materials you have to buy from a steel company. Now how does steel company make money? Of course, when the prices of steel goes up. So that steel company guy will not be like, what, the prices are gone up, you still pay me at the same price. They're not going to tell that, right? Like, of course, as the prices go up, even these people have to pay up, right? So they are heavily dependent on the raw material fluctuation. And you saw, right, in COVID, especially the whole 2021, the year that was there, the prices of steel and all the other raw materials shot up, right? Similarly, here also, when you talk about customers, like I told you, the gestation period, the life cycle period is so high, and sometimes it can be difficult to, to give that price increase, to pass on that price. As a result, you become a very sandwich model here, because you can't even get a leisure here from your supplier, neither whoever is supplying to your raw materials, not from your customers. As a result, your entire cash conversion, your working capital that is there, all of that becomes very, very high. This is what I mean. So this is a problem with that industry. And like I told you also, right, you have to, all these products, you have to keep inventory. It's not like you can make a steel wire out of thin air. It takes a long time. But at the same time, your customer will need a product very quickly than what it takes to make that product, so you have to keep the inventory also, right? Because of all of these things, again, like coming back to the first point, you need a lot of money, right? The other thing also, as a result, because of this, they, these kind of industries operate through debt. Like I mean, debt is a part of these kind of industries. So even here also, when you see in the whole 2019 and 2020, 2021, right, this company, mainly Bharat Wires, had gone into heavy downturn because they had taken a loan of 600 crores, right? And the cycle had turned and they couldn't pay the loan back, right? So they had gone through a lot of issues. And then RBI had to intervene. RBI had to intervene and be like, they had to do the debt structure for them and be like, okay, they gave a provision of like, not provision, sorry, but 200 crores of, like a payment debt, and then the other I think 380 crores of unsustainable debt, like sustainable and unsustainable debt, like that. So you understand the problem, right? So once, if the cycle goes for a downturn, then this then there is no coming back here also. Like, I mean, even if the coming back, that is it, it becomes very, very tough. So all of these companies, right, they had been into chaos, especially Bharat Wires. They are the kind of company right now, they had gone into this entire debt, and now the entire debt is getting restructured, and that is why they're doing well. So if you see this Q1 ka FY24 update, right, if you see from the last, actually FY23, they've started performing really well, right? Their volumes are improving, their revenues, their margins, everything is improving, right? I think their margins right now, it is at 26%, but they started it around 16 to 18%, and it has gradually increased. If you see here also, if you see the Q1 FY24 result, you would have seen that the sales has gone up by 20%. The PAT, can you see the operating leverage that comes here, right? Because these kind of industry, like I told you, they have to do, if they do like a small capex, they can, there is a possibility they can have 10 times the turnover, right? So here also, if you see, the PAT has been up 90%, and PAT margins also, just see how the PAT margin has improved from 9% to 23% on a year-on-year basis. Now I can't compare this on a quarter-on-quarter basis, because all of these wire and rope companies, their best quarters are Q3, and Q4 is their best quarter, right? And so in comparison, Q1 in comparison to Q4 will look lean. Q1 is one of the weakest quarter, like, Q2, Q3, and Q4, it really catches up. So that is why the whole Q on Q comparison doesn't make sense, right? Now, if you see here also, like I always keep telling, there are two things that matter when you talk about growth, right? One is your volume growth, and one is your value growth. If you see this 20% ka growth that has been there, right, in terms of revenue, out of that, 15% has come from volume, that is, you sold much more ropes and wires, and 5% has come from value. Now, what do I mean by value? Price increase. You have taken a price increase. You can see here, right? Like earlier, it used to be 8,962 metric tons. From there, they have gone to 10,316 metric tons. You can see that has been an increase of 15%. You can also see, how the PAT margins has improved from 9 to 15, like I showed you. The EBITDA margin has improved, and so has the revenue also, right? So why are you seeing this all of a sudden? Like I told you, this sales are going up, you're seeing this operating leverage play up, right? PAT margins are improving. So what is the reason? Like, because of course, right, if a company is doing well, especially a cyclical company like this is doing well, the first thing that comes to your head is like, is it sustainable, right? When you see numbers like this and with that huge operating leverage, the first thing that has to hit your head is like, are these numbers sustainable? Is there a demand going forward? Because like I told you, it's a cyclical industry, or is the demand, like, are we at the peak of the cycle? So that is one thing to keep in mind, right? So if you see here, one of the reasons you're seeing the sales being so, you're seeing a 20% growth in sales, that too on a lean quarter, on a year-on-year basis, is because first thing first is, earlier, they didn't have a lot of volumes. They used to hardly do a single to mid-digit volume growth, like a low to mid-single digit volume growth. Now, if you see the volume growth, like I told you, has been 15%. So the operations efficiency that has been there, that has been increasing. Now, why are they able to do this? Is because earlier they were catering to, I think, hardly few countries. Now, like hardly their export was like to some 8 to 10 countries, but now they're in around 40 countries. So here you do realize, right, the more export you do, your more is your margins. As a result, now they're moving into 40, I think they're already in 40 new countries. They're moving into more and more newer geography, right? Because of this, it is driven by higher volume. Next is, of course, higher value added products. Earlier, what used to happen, they used to sell only this general wire and rope, okay? And here here the EBITDA margin used to be around 12 to 15%, whereas now what you're doing is value added product. Now what is this value added product? Instead of just selling the steel ka wire, steel ka rope, right, you will do like you will do some changes to that. I don't remember the technical terms as of now, but you maybe you change the structure a little bit, and so that the tensile strength of that particular wire or rope increases, right? As a result, these are called value added products, right? Instead of so this value added products ka share that has been coming, that also has increased, right? And I think the value added products ka margin is around 30 to 35%, right? So that, plus the third thing is, of course, the steel prices are also coming down. From there they're getting another leverage. And the last thing is the reduction of borrowings. Like I told you, in 2019 and 2021, that whole period that was there, these people had gone into a major loss because that 600 crore ka capex that they did was not fruitful. On top of that, we had gone into COVID and the entire steel and wire ka downturn, plus the inflation of raw materials. Because of all of these factors, right? All of these factors, what had happened? They of course they had to repay the 600 crores loan back, and the entire thing was a mess. Now, they are well on track in the repayment of loan. Everything is, if you see their balance sheet also, it is healthy, like there is no gapla. As a result, because of all of this, you are seeing the path being boosted up to 90% year on year, right? Other than that, one of the other things also would like to note here is with Bharat Virus, the fact that they're able to sustain the margins, right? Because it's very, very hard when you talk about all these cyclical industry. It's hard to keep your margins at high level. When you talk of like 26% margins, is not easy, right? And again, one of the reasons they're able to do this 26% margin is because, like I told you, they're entering into newer geographies. Earlier, they didn't have bargaining power with the clients. Sorry, they didn't have bargaining power with the clients. Now, what do I mean by bargaining power? They were not able to pass on the price of their raw materials, whatever what it used to be. They were not able to pass it on easily to their clients. Now, one of the reasons they were not able to do it, of course, their product didn't have that niche. They didn't have a brand. Whereas if you compare in the same segment, Usha Martin is a well-known brand. If you see it in the US market and the European market, Usha Martin is one of the well-known brands for this wire and rope segment. When you talk about wire and rope over there, as a export company, Usha Martin just stands out. Here they didn't have that, but now they're improving this also, and their client relationship has become better. The other thing also, if you see, earlier, the value growth that was there, like I told you, earlier growth used to be hardly in mid to low single digit. Only volume growth was there. Value growth used to not come. Why this value growth used to not come is because, like I told you, right, these people were going into restructuring of their entire books, because they had to repay the loan and everything. One side you're repaying the loan, on the other side, to continue your existing operation also, you need loan, right? So as a result, what they did, they cut a deal with their clients, telling that, you give us in advance for all the orders that you do, right? And if you give a bulk order, and if you give an advance for this order, we will give you a 5% discount. As a result, that price increase that they were taking, that 5% ka value growth that used to come there, used to get eliminated here. But now, since their books, since their debt is restructured, they're paying their debt, and everything is fine. Now they're no longer taking that 5% ka advance that is there, right? So as a result, that is why you're seeing this 20% ka growth, where that 15% ka volume growth is sustained, as well as you're seeing the value growth also. So these are the two reasons as to like why the company is doing well. Other than that, you can see what has been the management ka guidance, as to say. One is, of course, the management is very confident. If you just have a if you just have a chance to listen to the con call, you can hear, and you can just get the feel, how the management is so bullish as to they can grow 15 to 20% CAGR, right? And of course, they are continuously increasing the capacity that is there for their plant. Right now it is operating, I believe, at 60% or 70% capacity utilization, and they want to take it up to 80 to 85% capacity utilization, right? That is one thing. And even the order book, if you see, it is around 170 to 200 crores, and this will also increase the top line by 20%. And of course, the main thing for me here is the margin, right? If you see the margin, they have improved their margin. Like I told you earlier, the margins used to be around 16 to 18% same time last year. And if you see every quarter on quarter, like I still remember, I think there was this one, I think somebody had asked in con call, can you sustain the margin up to 26% going forward, or will you go back to 15 to 12% margin that is the usual for this industry? And the managing managing director, he was, he quoted every quarter what they've done, the margins, and how they're confident about, of course, sustaining it to 26% and plus and minus 2% here. It clearly shows you, right, that the management is really really trying hard, to like, they did a mistake back, they of course, it is a business, there's always going to be ups and downs. But having said that, they understood what they did, and they're really trying hard to get back on their feet, and just do everything right. The only thing I would like to highlight here is, one second. Yeah. The only thing I would like to highlight here is what is the risk that possesses with these kind of business model. The first risk mainly is, of course, the steel price fluctuation that happens. Let's say tomorrow the steel price does rise, then their margins will get impacted, and there might be a chance, even of course, the if they're not able to pass on the price, the profitability will also come in pressure. So that is one thing. The next thing is the order book that is there. The order book, hopefully, whatever the order book that they have, they can execute it. Like, it's not necessarily that whatever the order book you have, it will get translated to the top line, right? Although, of course, in most of the times it does happen, but there are also been on several occasions, where you don't see, like, in many of these infra companies also, if you see, the order book might not get converted because it can get cancelled also anytime. Like, anything can happen. That's another thing. And the third thing is, of course, the geographical risk. What do I mean by geographical risk? Like, let's say if any country that they are supplying to, and that is where they're getting majority of their revenue from, and there is any geopolitical or political issue happening over there, because of which the entire supply chain can come into a crunch, then of course, here they also might face the impact. But having said that, if you see, because of this Ukraine and Russia war that has happened or happening right now, you can see that Bharatwise haven't faced any kind of impact, largely because of that. Of course, the normal supply chain issue, what everybody were facing, they did face. But in terms of their revenues and profitability, if you talk about it, it didn't. Or let's say if the orders getting cancelled or whatsoever, because of that didn't happen. Because like I told you, right now they are very very focused on diversifying and acquiring new clients and going into new geographies, because even they understand, this is a potential risk that comes in this industry, right? So even they have managed, like, to mitigate that as of now. So the only thing that the only thing, again, like I told, is that there's a steel price fluctuation that remains a concern. Having said that, yes, the only the most we can do is keep tracking the company, and see that the company is walking the talk, and the execution is happening. And if that happens, of course, if management executes what they talk, and whatever the expectations they give, if they fulfill it, of course, even the stock will end up reflecting, the stock price will reflect the same. Ultimately, at the end of the day, if you see, the stock price is nothing but a reflection of business performance. That's so hopefully, Bharat Wires can continue to like perform like they did. So that's it about Bharat Wires. And yeah, I hope to see you tomorrow with another new business model. Yeah, take care. Bye bye.